Hello. I should probably turn off my music. All right. Hello, everybody. If you hear off to my side, that's my daughter getting a bougie bite snack. I'm sure she'll be done any second now. Thank you for watching the recording or being here live. Appreciate you doing that. Should be. How many of those are left? All right, I'm eating it. All right. Hello, everybody. Hey, let me know if you can hear me in the Twitch chat.
Hi, live stream.
Susie says hi, live stream. So that's good. Hey, everybody. All right, we are going live. Today is 2/26, February 26th. All right. Hello, hello, hello. Eskimo Sultan. It's great to see you again. I wonder if Books for Brains is here. Just follow the account. It's going to take me about a minute or two to settle in. I'm running a little behind normal for my Friday afternoon live stream. And my cat, for some reason, is completely... Oh, Sultan? All right. My cat is just very glued to me today. He's very needy. And that's okay. But you gotta go. Be right back. Alrighty. So, if any of you are here for the very first time, please let me know in the Twitch chat. If you don't have a Twitch account and you just want... Oh, Suntan, not Sultan. Suntan. Thank you, Eskimo Suntan. I get it now. I see it. So, my name is Jason Blanchard. I go by BanjoCrashland on Twitter and Twitch and Discord. And I do a live... I always want to say a live job hunting live stream, but it's redundant. So I do a job hunting live stream twice a week, Tuesday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. My wife joins me on that one, and on Fridays from 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern time. I took last week off because I needed to take a mental health break and a spiritual health break just to make sure that my motives and my intentions for doing this and helping others were still good. I like to do that every once in a while to make sure that I read this really good book it's called When Helping Hurts. And so it's a really great book on helping others when helping hurts. So if you've ever wanted to help others, it's a really good book that can help you help others. And it's based on helping people who are poor. It says how to alleviate poverty without hurting the poor. But it was really good for me just to make sure that I understood where my motives were. I understood why I wanted to do this and things like that. So highly recommend the book in case you want to help others. And I also just leaked some personal information about myself, but that's totally fine because there's a ton of information about me on the internet, and we're going to talk about personal information today. So all of the things that we'll be doing is open source intelligence gathering, which is called OSINT. So if you've never done that before, we're going to do it and apply it to job hunting. So if you have a Twitch account and you can chat in the live stream, let me know, like Buckfutter. Hello, it's good to see you. I interact with you the entire time, so if you want to interact with me the entire time, you totally can. You can ask questions, you can make comments, you can do whatever you want. And today is going to be part 4 of a 5-part series I've been doing. I was just a judge at Trace Labs. So Eskimo Suntan, hopefully you'll be able to apply a lot of these things that we're going to talk about today to your job hunt. If you're job hunting, some people just check this out because they want to give some of this information to people that they know, or they know someone else job hunting, and so they just tune in. Large meat goat breed. Hey, it's good to see you. Spirit fur. Hey, I saw a Discord notification job hunting myself right now. Cool. Hopefully I'll be able to help you today. And I've done 3 other parts so far. And I'm uploading those parts right now to the Black Hills YouTube channel. because I tried to upload them to my own YouTube channel, and YouTube said, no, you can't upload a 2-hour video. We've never really met you before. And I was like, oh, really? Like, I've had a Gmail account for a really long time. And they're like, nah, you can't upload a 2-hour video. And I was like, fine. So I'm uploading them now to the Black Hills YouTube channel, and you'll be able to watch them there. So part 1 is how to locate the kind of work that you want to do, like how to find the job. And we're going to cover that a little bit today so that we can catch everyone back up. Number 2 is how to create a tailored resume. I went into it and just did a massive deep dive on how to reverse engineer job descriptions and how to use that into building your own resumes. Part 3 was how to research job openings at the company's websites. And so I'm a big fan of using companies' websites to apply for jobs and to learn more about the company at the jobs. Because if you've ever seen this live stream before, let me know if you're new. Because if you've never seen it before, I cover a lot of things that most job hunting people don't talk about, or you've never learned about job hunting. And one of those is applying at the company's website, and then why that makes sense and why you would do that from an HR perspective and stuff. So algorithm assuming a 2-hour video is a prior. Yeah. Oh, that's true, Buckbutter. They were like, this is a movie. You're like, it's not a movie. Baconator 1482, new here. Welcome. Thanks for being here. Thanks for letting me know too. On Tuesday nights, what I've been doing recently is just doing an entire job hunt from start to finish for one viewer. And we did that on Tuesday. So there's a recording available right now on the Twitch channel. But if you're watching the recording like 6, 7, 8 months from now, most likely catch me on Tuesday nights from 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. I will be doing these live streams for one more year until March of 2022. And so far, since we started last March, we've had 56 viewers come back and let us know that they landed a job. Now, we believe the number's higher, but 56 people came back and said, hey, I watched these live streams, I adapted and applied the things that you're talking about, and I landed a job, and I do believe it's from what you covered. And I always tell people, it is not what I do. I don't do anything. I just sit here, I talk, I show you some things. It's what you do with the knowledge. And so it's what you do with it will be cool. It says large meat goat breed. I just watched the backlog. Oh, thanks for checking that out. And you're welcome, Eskimo Suntan. And then large meat said, recommended by Slegna. Slegna is one of my favorite people on the internet, so that's really cool. So tell Slegna I said hi. All right, so today we're gonna do something very, very cool. This is my favorite part of the job hunt. Like, I love this part more than any other because I feel like this part is the treasure hunt part. Like the finding the job to apply for, you're like, oh, okay, I found it. And then building a tailored resume feels like work. And yeah, okay, I built a tailored resume. I hope it's good enough. And then 3, apply at the company's website. And you're like, sure. And I did some minor reconnaissance, learned more about the organization, made sure that I was aligning. They aligned with me. I aligned with them. And then part 4 is to find an internal advocate at that organization to introduce yourself to as a human being applying for a job. But what I'm going to cover today is how you can use these exact same tactics to find a mentor. Because sometimes it's not about the job you want to get now, it's about the job that you want to have 10 to 15 to 20 years from now. So doing these tactics today or now can help you find mentors that will help shepherd your career over the next 15 to 20 to 30 to 40 years. And then in return, you'll do that for somebody else 10 or 15 years from now. You'll help shepherd them through their careers. And I'm going to show you how to find mentors and how to do it in a way that feels right for you and feels right for the person who's going to mentor you. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now. But if not, I'm going to get started. So my name is Jason Blanchard. I do these live streams, and I have a particular set of skills. My background is in comic books and filmmaking and content creation and marketing and sales and retail, and I run the gamut. And about 12 years ago, I decided to change careers, and I wanted to go do something different, but I'd been doing something the same way for a long period of time, so I wanted to go and change careers. And one of the ways that I did that is I said, well, I've been a really good marketing person. I've been a really good content creator. I've been a really good educator. How can I take those things and apply them to job hunting? And that's really what I talk about on this live stream. It's like, how do you take what you already do well and what you already know and what you already can do on a daily basis? Like, how do I take my project management skills and apply it to job hunting? How do I take my hacking skills and apply it to job hunting? How do I take my photography skills and apply it to job hunting? How do I take my management skills and apply it to job hunting? How do I do all that? And just instead of like, I don't know how to job hunt, or I don't know how to find a new job, or I don't know what I'm doing here, I don't know what I'm going to do. Like, how do I take all that stuff I already know how to do and apply it to job hunting? And so one of the things I did really well prior to making the job switch is I'm a really good networking person. Like, I know how to network with people. I'm willing to shake hands. I'm willing to introduce myself. And I'm willing to do some research to find the people to introduce myself to. So NG Outdoor says, hola, and thanks again for the info. Absolutely. So for those of you that are here for the very first time, like, we're jumping into part 4. So there's going to be some things that you may not understand, or I may gloss over in the next few minutes, and that's okay. On Tuesday nights, we go through and do the entire job hunt, but I'm going to cover a few of those things now. So step 1 is finding a place to work. So step 1 is finding a place to work. So in the very first live stream, what we did is I asked the audience, I asked you, where do you want to work? Where do you want to work? Because there's 2 types of job hunts out there. There's the, I'm going to drive around my town and look for help wanted signs. Or there's the, I know that there's this company in my town and I'm going to network and meet people and learn what I need to learn in order to work there. It's 2 different mindsets. So the first mindset is I go over here and I type in security analyst. And you all can do this if you're currently job hunting and say security analyst and jobs. And it's going to give me the 23,559 results in the United States for security analyst. And if I go over here and hit all filters and say the past week, and then also say remote, then it's going to give me every single security analyst position that is currently available remotely in the United States that was posted in the last week. And then you can apply for these jobs. There's 357 results right here. And if any of you right now are watching, you're a security analyst, and you're like, wait, what? I can apply for remote jobs in the United States? You know, I'll take it one step further. If you live anywhere else in the world, you can always type in where you live, or you just type in worldwide, and it's going to give you the 540 results in the entire world right now that are currently looking for security analysts that were posted in the last week that are fully remote. And here you go. So you can do a job hunt right here. Now, the cool thing about this is you have 540 jobs to choose from. The bad part about this is that, did you really want to work there? So this is the equivalent of driving around your town and just looking for help wanted signs and saying, oh, there's a help wanted sign at a deli. Let me go work there. But your goal is not to work at a deli. Or you get a job as a security analyst at a mid-sized company, but your goal is not to work at a mid-sized company doing security analyst work. Like, you could get the job, but do you want the job? And so one of the very first things that we talk about is, where do you want to work? And I asked the audience, where do you want to work? And they threw out a bunch of companies that said, I want to work here, and I want to work here, and I want to work here. And then what I did is I asked the audience, well, let's put this in order. And so the order that the companies were mentioned were like Tesla, Black Hills. And the reason for Black Hills is because most of you know of me from Black Hills. And so there's people who want to work there. There's IBM, FireEye, Decca, Accenture, Government, Amazon. So let's say this is the top 10, these companies here. But there was a bunch of other companies that were thrown out during that period of time. And I said, where do you want to work the least? Where do you want to work the least? And so a bunch of names got thrown out, and the very bottom of the list was Taco Bell and Walmart and John Deere and Apparis and FedEx and Ubisoft and Toyota. And so I said, all right, cool. So this is step 1. Step 1 is, where do you want to work? You could, and there's nothing wrong with this, you totally could just do a search for what's available. And this is how Indeed and Monster and LinkedIn and all those other companies make money. Because you can just do a search for what's available in your town, and then you can find something, and then you apply, and maybe you get there. Or you can say, well, where do I want to work? And if you say, well, where do I want to work? It changes how you hunt. Because if you really want to work at Tesla, or you really want to work at IBM, or you really want to work at Black Hills, or you really want to work at FireEye, now you have a goal and you can start making adjustments, you can start learning things, you can start meeting people and networking to build your way to getting to these companies. Now, when it's time to job hunt, okay, so if you're watching me, if you're listening, if this is your very first time, and you're now thinking about, because I've planted the idea, and you're starting to think about, well, where do I want to work? I've never thought about it like that. Like I've always just did a search and looked for what was available. But if I really thought about where I wanted to work, I'm not sure. Like I'm not quite sure where I want to get started. I don't know. But now that I'm thinking about it, I find that interesting. And so one of the ways that you could find where you want to work is, could someone in the chat throw out a city that's near you? It doesn't have to be the city that you're in. Just throw out a city that's near you. And I'm going to show you how you can find places to work. All right, so New York. All right, so that's a city that's near you. So top 10 cybersecurity companies in New York. So I just throw out the top 10 cybersecurity companies in New York. And what you're going to get right back is there's going to be a series of ads, because that's a thing. But then you get a list of New York cybersecurity companies. Like, well, why does this even exist? Why does this list even exist? And it's just like there's an ad for the Hershevek company. But you get over here and you start looking, and they say like there's Accenture and Avana and Bayshore Networks and BioCatch. And let's say you didn't know these companies existed until you just did the search. And so you're like, oh, well, what's Blue Voyant do? And well, I've heard of Booz Allen, but what's BioCatch do? Or what's Bayshore Networks do? And now you start to research these companies and you see more. And this is how you can start to build your list. Or you could say top 10 companies thriving in 2021. And the reason why I say top 10 companies thriving in 2021 is because these are the companies that are going to be expanding and hiring because they're making money because of their thriving. Not every company is thriving, and you may have worked for a company that no longer thrives. And so you're here, unemployed, furloughed, laid off. Your company may have dissolved. It's no longer a business. Like whatever reason you found yourself in this situation where you're job hunting, it's maybe because the company wasn't thriving. And so now you're like, I want to work for a thriving company. And so you can start doing start researching companies that are thriving in the way that the world is now. So you can go to 10 fastest growing industries. And so you can look at, well, what's the fastest growing industry? And you're like, music groups and artists. You're like, I hadn't thought about that. Why is music groups and artists thriving? Well, what about Sony Music? You're like, I love music. Can I combine my love of music together with a cybersecurity career or with a career in something else? So I go over here to career and I say begin your job search now, and you're like, okay. And I just type in security and see what happens. Nothing? It's possible. What if I type in music? Oh yeah, other stuff shows up. All right, so these are all the jobs right now that have the word music in it. So there's things here where you could like, oh. But if you're not in cybersecurity and if you're in marketing like me, well, I just found out the director of digital marketing for Sony Music is available. And that's something I didn't know until just now. So this is to get the ball rolling. They don't believe in security. Maybe. So if you were sitting here thinking like, well, how do I start building out my list? That's it. You do a search for the top 10 companies in your industry, in your area, and then you do like what's thriving, and then it inspires you to like, well, I never thought about airport operations. I've never thought about casinos. I never thought about travel agencies. And maybe one of the reasons why these companies are thriving so much is because last year they were so terrible that any growth this year just looks like amazing growth. So definitely do your research. All right, so that's step one. Step one is to find the companies that you want to work with. Now, the other part of this is put it in order. Put it in the order of where you want to work. It's an incredibly important part of this job hunt process. Like, if you want to work at Tesla, then put it at the top. If you don't, then put it down here. Like, it's your list of where you want to work. So the group last time said Tesla, so that went to the top of the list. And the group said Taco Bell was at the bottom of the list. So this is the biggest takeaway from this section. The biggest takeaway from this section is start hunting for jobs at the bottom of your list. Start hunting for jobs at the bottom of your own list of where you want to work. And the reason why is because down here, you care less. And if you're like, well, if I care less, then is that where I should start? Absolutely. You want to start where you care less. And the reason why you want to start where you care less is because you're willing to experiment here. Your resume doesn't have to be perfect here. You're reaching out to people. It doesn't have to be extraordinary here. Like, you can fumble, you can make mistakes, you can take an interview with Apris, and while you're on the call with Apris, you can learn the interview process through your call with Apris. So that way, when you start getting up to the top of your list, you're more familiar with the job hunt. You're more familiar with the questions you might be asked. You're more familiar with the tech interviews. You're more familiar with how the recruiter reaches out and the hiring manager. You're more familiar with all of it. So you're getting more comfortable with the job hunting process. Now, what if you're getting denied and turned down? Like, people are saying no, 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 and it's like killing your confidence. No, 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 no. Don't let it kill your confidence. You're just getting better. You're getting better with every single phone call. You're getting better with every single tailored resume. You're getting better with your research and your open source intelligence gathering. You're getting better as you work your way up the list. And then the other thing that's going to happen, I'm going to show you today, is that as you're hunting and you start finding internal advocates at Offensive Security or Rapid7 or McKinsey or Synac, if you start finding people at these companies, well, they will lead you to other jobs that are available in other companies. And when you find another company, you're like, oh, wait, that company looks really cool. Let me add right above here, Bethesda Games. Because you hadn't thought about Bethesda Gaming, but now while you're researching Ubisoft, you're like, actually, Bethesda would be a much better company to work for. I'm going to put them a little bit above Ubisoft, and then I'm going to research jobs there. So this is a living document. It's not like, well, I have to get my job at Tesla. This is just getting you started with the job hunt. Eskimo Suntan said, make mistakes on jobs you don't want, so when you get to the top, you're already seasoned. Exactly. So as you work your way up, because you don't want, and this is counterintuitive, or this goes against what other people have recommended or what you think about job hunting, is that if you want to work at Tesla the most, then you start looking at jobs at Tesla and you put in your application at Tesla and you go through the whole thing. But every interaction, and it's going to happen to you as a human being, as you start working your way up this list, your heart starts to race more. You start to question your emails. You start to question your phone call responses. You start to question your interview. You start to question what answer you should give. You start to question that because you're like, you want it more. And since you want it more, you start getting less risk averse or more risk adverse, because you're like, well, I don't want to mess this up. Like, it's FireEye, like it's Tesla. It's like, oh my God, it's Black Hills or whatever the case is. You're like, I don't want to mess this up. Well, then do it down here. Just get better at it over here. Is this a perfect exact science? Absolutely not. It's not a perfect exact science. But I have learned over the years that when you work your way up the list, by the time you get up to the top, you're much better at it. Or you fail at, or re-fail at. Thanks for following. Spider6675, thanks for following. Appreciate it. Kadawi, how do you keep from getting discouraged? My mind would go straight to, if I'm not good enough for the bottom of the list, I'm definitely not good enough for the top. And Kadawi, there's a little truth to that, like, right? Because it starts to creep in, like, if I'm not good enough for the bottom of my list. But the thing is you're not good enough for the bottom of your list when you get started. Your resume isn't good enough yet. Your interviewing skills isn't good enough yet. And that's not true for everybody. But Buckfire, we'll see you later. If you are recently unemployed, if you are recently furloughed, if you've been laid off for 9 months, like, it starts to mess with your brain. It starts to mess with who you are as a person. And so you got to build that confidence back up. And I know it sounds weird to build your confidence up by failing, but that is what happens. If you look at this not as I'm failing at Taco Bell and I'm failing at Walmart and I'm failing at John Deere and I'm failing at Epworth and I'm failing at FedEx, it's just that I'm getting better at talking about myself. I'm getting better at describing my abilities. I'm learning the things that I didn't know when I applied for the Walmart job. One person told me I needed to get the SEC Plus, and so I got the SEC Plus. And so now I'm like, whatever the case is, you're failing upwards in a way. You're just getting better and better as time goes on. And Kadawi, I know you may like, I still disagree. Practice it. Practice it. I'm going to tell you all something. It's incredibly important. So for those of you listening, hopefully you pay attention, because this next part that I'm going to talk about, I'm going to skip over creating a tailored resume because you can watch that in any other live stream. I'm going to skip over applying at the company's website. I'm going to go directly to finding internal advocates at these organizations right here, the ones that are on this list. And the problem with what I'm about to show you is this. Are you shy? And I'm asking you a question right now. Are you shy? Because if you're shy, Kadawi, if you're shy, Eskimo Suntan, if you're shy, ATT&CK, if you're shy, this next part's going to be incredibly difficult for you. Now, what happens is, what if you are shy? What if you are shy? And you start down here, but then you start to realize you don't need to be shy. And then as you get your way up here, you're like, actually, I'm not shy anymore. So I'm going to tell you this one thing that I've been telling people for a long period of time, and I'm actually going to write it down for you so that you can see it. And then that way we can talk about it. Is I'm going to try to get you to think differently about yourself and about job hunting and stuff like that. And I'm going to give you this thing to repeat in case you need to. Never deny someone the opportunity to find out how awesome I am. And I've been living by this for 17 years. Like I was at a networking event and I saw a group of people standing, over and I wanted to meet them. And internally I was like, no, why would they want to meet me? And that's what I was thinking internally. Like, there's the group of people I want to introduce myself. There's a group of people over there I want to meet. There's a group of people. And internally I was like, nah. Why would they want to meet me? Why would they want to talk to me? Why would they care? And then like I kept thinking about it on the drive home, and I kept thinking about it, and it was like gnawing at me because I realized that I stopped myself from introducing myself because I made a decision for them that I'm not awesome. I made their decision that I'm not awesome. And there's no reason to speak to me. Like my own self-doubt, my own insecurities, whatever the case is, like my own self said no for them. And there's a part of here that's like, what if I did introduce myself? What if I did walk up and they shunned me and they rejected me and all that stuff? And then I'm like, actually that hurts. Like, their rejection just felt real terrible. But as I was walking away, then I would know that they rejected me. And I know what you're listening, and some of you are like, I don't know if I tuned in for the right stream today. Like, what does this have to do with job hunting? This has a lot to do with job hunting, because there's a lot of times that when job hunting or when networking or when introducing ourselves, we say no on behalf of somebody else. We say they probably wouldn't like me. We say I probably don't have enough skills. We say those things instead of letting them say those things. So I really thought about it, really, I gave some serious consideration to what was happening. And I landed on this. Never deny someone the opportunity to find out how awesome I am. And I had to it's not always true. There are times where I'm like, I'm not awesome. Like I'm not great. I'm not fantastic. I'm not whatever. But internally I go, never deny someone the opportunity to find out how awesome I am. And this 30 seconds of courage kicks in. And that 30 seconds of courage goes, okay, I'm going to go walk up to him. And there's been times I've walked up to people and I was like, hey, how's it going? My name's Jason. And they're like, and they go back to their conversation. And I'm like, oh, that hurt right in the heart. Damn it. But there's been so many more times than that when I've walked up to people and I said, hey, how's it going? My name's Jason. And they go, oh, my name's Eric. Or my name's Veronica. Or my name's so-and-so. And all of a sudden we have this conversation. Now, there have been times where I've introduced myself to people, and as we're having that conversation, they're completely looking around me to see if there's someone more important they should be talking to, and that has definitely happened. I've also been in a situation where I've been talking to someone, and at the same time looking around to see if there's someone else more important to talk to, and that happens. But never deny someone the opportunity to find out how awesome I am, and same for you. So that 30 seconds of courage. And the reason why I have to talk about this so much right now is because without this part, without that overcoming the shyness, without that taking the opportunity to let someone know how awesome you are, you're not going to like anything else I talk about next. Or you won't agree with it, or you'll just hear it and say, that's really cool. I really wish I could, but I'm too afraid to do that, or I'm too shy to do that. And Avatar Micah says we're all awesome in our own way. So even if they say no or we feel they don't like us, we should try to look at it as that's their loss. Because we know we truly are and what we can bring, 100%. There's been people I've introduced myself to when I felt their rejection or they didn't reply. And we're going to cover this a lot today. They don't reply back. There's this you lost out. You lost out. Working with me, us together, this could have been really cool, but you didn't respond back and you lost out. And I'm sorry that you're going to miss out on that really cool opportunity. So, large meat goat breed said, my difficulty in starting, I'm comfortable once I'm in, but starting is the hardest part. That's for everything. Starting conversations, job apps, workouts, etc. Yeah, the getting that rock rolling or getting that snowball started is the hard part. And John Bailey, Texas, says, my mom still likes me. Awesome. All right, so let's do the next part. So step 4 of the job hunt. Step 1 is figuring out where you want to work. Step 2 is building a tailored resume based on the job description, reverse engineering it. We also cover how to build your own internal document of all your skills and abilities. Number 3 is to apply at the company's website. And number 4 is to find an internal advocate at that organization to introduce yourself to as a human being applying. So in the past, I have jumped right over to Taco Bell and we found some people. I did a real quick way of doing this. But let's start at Ubisoft. So let me show you what it's like to track down human beings at an organization. So if you are a hacker, if you are a reconnaissance hacker or something like that, you're going to be like, oh, he's just doing open source intelligence gathering. He's just doing recon. He's just doing this. He's just doing, and I'm not even going to do it as good as hackers do. If you're a pen tester who knows how to do recon and open source intelligence gathering, you're going to be like, that's it? That's real basic, Jason. I thought you were going to get super in depth with this. No. But for anyone watching right now, if you're in marketing, if you're in management, if you're in sales, if you're in wherever you're at and you find yourself watching this today, hopefully this helps you because it's not very difficult. So if I wanted to work at Ubisoft, I'd go to Ubisoft's website. So I'm going to go over here, and the whole time I'm documenting as I go. So I'm just going to keep a documentation of what I'm looking at. And this is a very important part of the process. We're going to talk about this next week on step number 5. And step number 5 is how to manage all this information well, because If you go down this trail that I'm about to show you, this rabbit trail of job hunting and finding people and discovering stuff, it gets good real fast. Like you start finding treasure after treasure after treasure after treasure after treasure. But if you're not organized with it, then it just becomes data. Like, I mean, how many of you have been at a job where you just have tons of data and you don't know what to do with it? So I don't want that to be the case for you during your job hunt. Like you're finding information and what can you do with this information? So I'm at Ubisoft's website and it's like, do you want to shop or connect? Well, what does connect mean? Let's play shop. I don't want to shop. I want to explore. And most likely if I go to the very bottom, there we go, careers. So if I go over to Ubisoft, I'm like, all right, so if I want to work at Ubisoft, join a team moving forward, find your next challenge. But let's look at the other stuff. So they got programming, project management, marketing, game design. Let me click on that. What does that? There's a video. So my number one advice whenever you're job hunting and you go to a company's, is it back? NG Outdoors, is it back? I think it's back. Can someone let me know if the stream's back? Also, I think whenever the stream breaks, then it's like, I think now I have like 2 videos or 3 videos or 4 videos or whatever. Cool. Everyone, thank you. All right. So whenever you come across a video on a company's website, watch it. And it's 3 minutes and 15 seconds. And I really do mean watch it. Watch whatever video you come across on a company you want to work at's website. So this one's got like 1.4 million views. And this is what I'm looking for. Alicia, Andrea, Gavin, and Rahul and Simon share their experience as gameplay programmers at Ubisoft. So if I go over here and I grab this, and I go back over here and type in Ubisoft. Huh. This might be, maybe? This was the person who worked at Ubisoft? Did they work at Ubisoft? Yeah. So this person worked at Ubisoft until 2017. So by going in and finding this video, they talk about, does everyone see what I'm doing right now? What I'm doing right now is I'm just finding potential individuals at the organization I want to work at that I can introduce myself to as someone who wants to work at that organization. So that way I have now an internal advocate that's going to help me through the hiring process. Because I haven't talked about this in a while, but I'm going to talk about it on today so that way it's recorded so that people can watch it and learn it again. Ubisoft is like a walled city. And so if we go back to castles, so let's look for castles on the internet. And this is a lot like what a job is like. A job is a walled castle. It's a walled city. It's not easy to get into. And there's all these castles out there where it's difficult to get there. Like this one's got a moat and a gate, right? It's got a moat around it. It's got a gate. And this is the way that we see job hunting. Like this is Ubisoft, right? In this video, we want to work at Ubisoft, but there's these giant walls. There's a moat around it, and there's a small little walkway, and then there's gates. And unfortunately, we live in a world where we don't want there to be gatekeepers, and we don't want there to be barriers, and we don't want all those things. But those things exist. And they exist because the people who live inside the castle are cautious about new people coming into the castle. That's the way that we survived for thousands and thousands of years, that we survived in tribes, we survived in villages, we survived in walled cities. And when a stranger would come, we had people on the walls that would be like, stranger! And then people would come out and they got their weapons ready because who is this person? Are they a scout? Are they this? Are they that? Who's this person that wants to come into our walled city, our walled compound? And so we have this mindset of we want people inside the gates that we trust and that we like and that we know we can work with. And anyone else is kind of a stranger. And they go through a vetting process before they can come into the walled city. And that vetting process in modern day is the job hunt and interview and everything else. And so, but think about this. So let's say there's this castle here. And you are a stranger walking up to this castle. And as you walk up to this castle, there's going to be gatekeepers. And those are recruiting people, they're talent acquisition people, they're hiring managers, they're like the people who manage and work the gates. And you walk up and they're like, hold on, before you get in here, let me see some documentation. And like, oh, well, here's my resume. And you're like, all right, well, let's take a look at it. And as they go through your resume, like, I don't know if you can get into our city. But think of it this way. Let's say inside this walled city is a bunch of people who live there. And those people go into town, those people go into, they work the fields, things like that. And one day you come across one of them and you're like, hey, how's it going? I'm Jason. And that person's like, oh, I'm Edgar. And you're like, hey, Edgar, it's very nice to meet you. And you hit it off. And you talk to each other and that's good. And now, like a couple weeks later, you want to get into the castle. And so you go to the castle and everyone's like, all right, let me see your documentation. And like, all right, here's my documentation. And then at some point you go like, hey, I know Edgar inside. Could maybe like you go get Edgar and bring him out? And then they're like, oh, you know Edgar? You're like, yeah, I know Edgar. And I'm like, oh, well, if you know Edgar, sure. And they call in, Edgar comes out, and then you're like, oh, hey, it's Jason. Hey, it's great to see you. Like, yeah, I know Jason. He can come in. And you're like, oh. And that's gets you around the process. Like, that's what we're looking for, is like, how can I introduce myself to someone inside the walled city that I can just talk to casually, informally, and say, I'm a human being that would love to be in your walled city too. Is that possible? And you hit it off with them, and then they're like, yeah, sure, you can come here. So company site, LinkedIn provide names, jobs, so we can find the people with castle door keys. If you get a relationship with an insider, we avoid the you ain't from around here. Yeah, exactly. So, all right, so that is the entire reason why I even look for internal advocates. And some people, they ask me like, well, what's an internal advocate? It's just someone inside the walled city. It's some other human that is already in there that you can introduce yourself to. And by going to this one video, the very first video I found on their website that took me to this page, I found this person, which I dropped in here, and then I found this person who works in the gaming industry. And the reason why this is important, this isn't just about jobs. Remember I talked about at the very beginning, this is about mentorship too. It's not just about jobs. If you wanted to become a director of creative technology, if you wanted to be if you want to be an emerging technologies consultant for games, if you wanted to know what it's like to work at Magic Leap and be a director of developer experience, if you wanted to know what it was like to work at Ubisoft and be a gameplay AI director, this person right here is a possible potential mentor for you. And you would go through the same steps of like, actually, this person seems really cool. So I'm going to go and create a new page in my document called Mentors. So I'm going to go over here and say Mentors. Now, if you're looking at this, you're like, she wouldn't be a mentor for me. Well, I understand that. That's not the point of this. I'm just finding a person and showing you what it would look like to find a potential mentor for you. So I'm just going to go over here and say the name is, and their profile is, and then over here, if I wanted to, I could reach out to this person, and we're going to talk about what those messages look like later. Let me know if you have any questions so far. Like, why would, your question might be like, why would Alicia want to talk to me? Well, let's go back to this. Never deny someone the opportunity to find out how awesome you are. She might really enjoy talking with you. And the message that we're going to send later on is going to say something to this effect of, would it be possible to talk to you for 10 to 15 minutes about how you got to where you are in your career, and what advice would you have for someone like me? That's the message. Would it be possible to talk to you for 10 to 15 minutes about how you got to where you are in your career, and what advice would you have for someone like me? That's the whole mentor question. All right. So let me know if you have any questions so far. We're going to go back to searching at Ubisoft, and we're going to go back to Ubisoft's website. So it's not really about looking for jobs right now, because we could. I could go here and type in the word security and see what comes up. Keyword security. Search. And we have an IT security analyst in Montreal. We have an information security analyst in India. We have a game and a back-end developer for security in Germany. So we just found 4 potential jobs in IT at Ubisoft. Any chance you could share that document link for reference? I don't share this document link because it's really simple. So what I'm going to do is at any time, what you can do is just do a screen capture. So I can sit on here for a second if you want to do a screen capture. These are incredibly simple documents where I just go through and I put like company, job post, website, and I would tweak it along the way. Like if I figured out I needed a different column, I would add a different column. This reference is for whatever job. If I find like a specific job post, because if we go over here and I'm like, this job as an information security analyst in India seems interesting. And I go over here, well, they have it's a reference number. So you would find a reference number and then you go back over and say, well, I found this job and here's the reference number for it. And if I wanted to find the actual job post, then I would go over here and highlight this and then go back and drop it in. And now I have the job post if I want to jump back to it. And Baconator says, this castle reference reminds me of the Monty Python and the Holy Grail. How many internal advocates is appropriate? So John Bailey, Texas. I generally say a few recruiters. And when like few is like if it's a massive conglomerate company, like if it's Lockheed Martin with 115,000 employees, if it's Microsoft with however many employees they have, like whatever the case, if it's a massive company, then you could go 5-10 recruiters and you'd be fine. If it's a small company, like it's only got like 50 employees, then it's going to be different. Because if you reach out to one recruiter, most likely they talk to the other recruiter. If you reach out to 7 recruiters, then all 7 of them are like, did you get the message from John Bailey? Like, I did. Like, okay, so we all got the message? Yeah, we all got the message. So if it's a smaller company, I would hit up maybe a few less people. Bigger company, the sky's the limit at that point, because it may be a few people in the location you're currently in. It might be a few people where you would want to move to, like whatever the case is. And then when it comes to mentorship, John Bailey, there is no limit to mentorship. Like if you're looking for anyone in your field that you want to talk to about mentorship, there is no limit. Like if you wanted to track down 200, 300, 400 people and ask them, would you be available for a 10 to 15 minute phone call and to talk about where you got, how you got to where you are in your career. And at that point, because there's going to be a percentage of people who respond. So for every 100 messages you send out, it might be a positive response of 5%. And so now you have 5 people to talk to. So you send out another 100, now you have another 5 people to talk to. So now you're at 10 people to talk to about mentorship, or they might answer that question of how did you get to. And I like that question better than can I pick your brain. I'm not a fan of the can I pick your brain question because that feels like free consulting. The question is, would it be possible to talk to you about how you got to where you are in your career and what advice would you have for someone like me? That is, that is the human in you goes, sure, I'll talk to you for a few minutes. Yeah, that's not free consulting about like what product you should purchase. That's not free. That's like, I see someone who wants to be like me, and why would I reject them if they want to be like me? Like I'm just going to give them 10 to 15 minutes of my time. And we'll talk about what happens once that phone call goes through towards the end of this. So we're at Ubisoft, and you could do a search for a job, and I did, and I found one. I could go over here and like it lists all the jobs, and if you're like, holy crap, there's 10 pages of jobs, there are 10 pages of jobs. Are there 20? There's 20 pages of jobs. Are there 30? There are 30 pages, 40 pages of jobs at Ubisoft. Holy cow. Around the world, you all could, if you're in any type like Ubisoft. Whew, that's a lot of jobs. Okay, so that's one of the ways to do it. The other thing is, let's see if we can find anything else here that could be potentially useful, like Investor Center. What will the Investor Center give me? All right, key figures and annual reports. All right, key figures. Who are the key figures? All right, let's download this. So I'm now downloading the, no, I do not want push notifications from Ubisoft. I am currently opening a document right now that you all won't be able to see unless I bring it in. So Ubisoft here, I gotta open up this document, and then I'm gonna see what happens. Like I don't even know what this document is. It's popping up right now. Oh, this is key financial figures. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I wanted key human being figures. Like who are the, there we, oh, darn it. Some of you right now are like, you just gotta scroll down a little bit more, Jason. I was like, oh, okay. So we got a board of directors here. Oh, cool. We have a series of names of board of directors. Well, they have committees. Well, who are these committees? Lead independent director, independent director, employee representative, Lionel Boucher. All right, Lionel Boucher. Okay, we got some information here. This is a person who is a member of the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee. He's an employee representative. Been at Ubisoft since 2005 with 20 years of experience. Okay. Cool. There we go. Is that it? No? Maybe this one? Ah, there we go. Technical director at Ubisoft. Cool. This is one of those people, and this is French studio, so this might be someone who speaks French specifically, and I don't know. But let's look at their contact information. Maybe you can find that here. You could follow them to see what they post on. You could also take a look at their activity, see if they're posting anything relevant to your job hunt or to your future career. And the answer is they posted this 3 months ago. So you can look more here. This just introduced you to Julian as a lead development tester. So that's a person you could potentially talk to. We got Emma Lee, maybe. And then we have others, Director of Engineering at LinkedIn, and that's it. That's all the posts. If I click on here to see what posts they've made, none. But I wonder if they're on Twitter. So let's go over here. Look on Twitter. They just drop their name in. The one thing about Twitter and social media is people tend to use the exact same profile. So if I go over here to people on Twitter, you might be able to see the same person in their picture. So that guy, maybe? Nope, not at all. This guy's not wearing a shirt. That's all right. So nothing there. That's fine, I guess. That's just a part of the process. I don't find everything all the time, and that's okay. So we're back over at Ubisoft. How did we get here? We found an employee representative for the member of the Corporate Social Responsibility Committee, and I had a name, and I just tracked it down. And there's one other thing that we can look at, is on the right-hand side here. Whenever you find one person at a company, they would normally introduce you to other people at that company, such as Jennifer Borian. If anyone watching right now is in college, these are the kind of people that you want to find. She's the talent acquisition and campus manager at Ubisoft Paris studio. Now this is Paris. Once again, I found someone who's in that part. Now we have another campus manager at Ubisoft. And then we have a studio recruiter at Tonic Games Group. Like, you didn't know what Tonic Games were until this moment. Maybe you did. We have a performance compensation specialist. So what we just found right here is a talent acquisition person at Ubisoft that handles recent graduates or people who are still in school that are looking for internships. So if you were currently in school right now and you're like, wait, what? There's people that are specifically like that hire college students? Absolutely. And they exist. And they're on LinkedIn. And Jennifer leaves her messages open. So if you wanted to, you could send Jennifer a message. And so if I zoom in right here, we get down here to free message. That is a free message, not every message on LinkedIn is free. If I go back over here to Lionel and I click, nope, you gotta have a premium InMail account in order to send this message. So at that point, you would either have to find like a free email address by like figuring out if it's first letter dot last name at Ubisoft or something like that to maybe potentially find an email address. Now, all of this right now, like I just clicked on Jennifer and I can send Jennifer a message. I could send Jennifer a message about anything I want to send Jennifer a message about. If I was in college right now and I was in France and I wanted to get a job in Paris working at Ubisoft and I'm in college, I would say, hey, Jennifer, I just wanted to reach out and say, I'm a student currently and I wanted to see if it would be possible to get 10 to 15 minutes of your time to find out what it's like to work at Ubisoft and what the hiring process is. And that's what the message will look like. Say, hi, my name is, and I would like to introduce myself. And then you would say, why I am reaching out. Number 2 is, who am I? Number 3 is, what I care about you, the org, or the position. In case you found a position, there might be a position available for internships at that place. We haven't been doing that part of the job hunt. I'm just showing you right now how to find people. But if we found a job specifically at Ubisoft for interns in Paris, we could reference the reference number of that job. Remember the reference number? Reference number. You say, hey, I'm looking at this job right here. It's the reference number. You could even drop a link to it, the actual job post in your message to Jennifer, and then she could click on it or just reference it inside her internal database and be like, oh, okay. Number 4 is what I am asking for. And number 5 is how to reach me. So this simple message, Jennifer's, hey, I'm currently, Jennifer, I'm reaching out because I see you're a talent acquisition and campus manager at Ubisoft Paris Studio, and I'm currently looking at positions at your company. My name is, and I'm a recent graduate of, and I'm getting ready to transition into security. I recently came across this position that's available. Here's the reference number, and I feel like I'm a perfect fit for it with my skills as they exist right now. Would it be possible to get a 10 to 15 minute phone call to talk about possibility of working there, introducing myself, and learning more about the hiring process? And the best way to reach me is I'm available any day at any time through LinkedIn or at night at this number, available from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. because I work during the day. And that's it. And you send this message. And if this is your very first time here and you've never heard me talk about this, I'm going to drop this into the Twitch chat so you can copy and paste it if you want to. This is the same 5-sentence formula I've been following for 17 years of reaching out to people and introducing myself to them. This is what I've been doing for years. And it works a percentage of the time. Not every time, but a percentage of the time. Way back in the early days, and I'm going to talk about my comic book days for a second. There's a comic book artist by the name, or a comic book writer by the name of Jason Aaron. He's an American comic book writer. This is Jason Aaron right here. This is what he looks like, and he writes Thor and all the big books from Marvel and everything. And I worked back in the comic book industry many years ago. And what happened was I owned a comic book store, and this is like 2005. Like I owned a comic book store, and Jason Aaron had just written a book called Other Side. So it's right here. It's called The Other Side. And it was a really good book. Like I read it and I thought it was really good. And we found out that he was writing a book called Scalped, which had a first or 2 issues come out. And he had just gotten put onto Ghost Rider and Wolverine. So Marvel had hired him to write Ghost Rider and Wolverine. And we knew that those would be good sellers for us at the comic book store. So I reached out to Jason Aaron and I said, hi. And I reached out on MySpace. Like I went to, some of you haven't been here in a long time. It can feel hard to say I feel I'm a perfect fit for a position because job descriptions tend to be pretty broad with duties and requirements. Is that just a feeling to ignore and push past for the sake of coming off as confident to an advocate? Let's talk about that for 1 second. If you haven't been to MySpace in a while, this is what it looks like. If you're like, it still exists? It does. It still exists. But 17 years ago or 15, 16 years ago when I reached out to Jason Aaron, I just did that. I sent a message 5 sentences. Hey, Jason Aaron, just wanted to reach out and I see that you're a writer for comic books and my name is Jason. I'm the co-owner of a comic shop in Orlando, Florida. And I see that you have these books coming out. I thought it'd be really cool. And you're a fantastic writer. Would it be possible to talk to you for a few minutes about maybe working together or collaborating, or we can promote your stuff, you can promote us, and the best way to reach me is right here on MySpace. Like, that was the message I sent, and Jason Aaron and I have been friends ever since. So Jason Aaron's a friend of mine, and we've known each other for 15 years. Like, I was the very first person who ever took him to the gun range, because so we could shoot guns. Like, we became friends because of that first MySpace message. Now, we sent the MySpace message, and I don't think I met him for quite some time. Like, we just communicated back and forth, and then eventually there was something where he could come visit the store. But it started with me just reaching out. What I'm telling you right now is it starts with you just reaching out. And Enigma 3190 had a question about, how do you push past the I'm a perfect fit for the... Okay, so Enigma, let me know if this is your first time on the live stream. And if it is, awesome, thanks for being here. And if it's not, then you might have heard us talk about this, but let me reinforce it. If I type in security analyst here, analyst and jobs, type in security analyst, and I get 23,485 results. And I go over here to information security analyst at Leidos. All right, so here's the job description. Leidos is excited to have this opportunity for an information security analyst that will provide support for the U.S. Marine Corps Forces, Cyber Command, MAR4 Cyber. The work conducted under this task will be support the naval information in creating a cybersecurity workforce and providing technical service to support technical and operation activities in the cyberspace domain for MAR4 Cyber. All right. I'm stopping right there. I'm not going here. Now, I'm going to put one caveat on this one. If you don't have a top secret clearance, then you couldn't apply for this job. You would not be the perfect fit for this. But I'm going to show you that this part right here, and this is something that my wife talks about on Tuesday nights, and it's just really good. This is the job. Whenever you come across a job post and they say, here's the description and stuff, this is what we do, the compliance analyst will have, this is the job. This is the part right here. This is the job. All this other stuff is the things that they're looking for you to be the unicorn to do that job. Right, this is what they're looking for. This is the, when people think of perfect fit, they think of these things, but that's not. That's the perfect fit for the organization. It's not the perfect fit for you. The job hunter's perfect fit is this part right here. It's not the rest of it. Your perfect fit is here. The employer's perfect fit is here. Hopefully, and it's not, like I say, an exact science. This is what the employer wants. This is what you want. It's a completely different mindset because the compliance analyst will have a foundation level of experience. Talk about all this stuff. This individual contributor will be tasked with executing compliance assessments, evidence gathering, controls testing, crafting risk memos, and engaging the company GRC platform. The analyst will be responsible for communicating risk and context effectively across all audience types, including line-level employees, technologists, and executive leaders. That's the job. So Enigma 3190, think of it this way. That's the job. And if that's the job that you want, then you feel like you're the perfect fit for it. Because this goes back to the whole, if we talk about it early, never deny someone the opportunity to find out how awesome I am. How hard is it for an international student in USA to get a job in security? How hard is it? It's difficult. It is difficult. Very, very difficult to answer that question. So I may be able to cover that as we talk about internal advocates, because it will definitely be based on relationship building and not necessarily on your resume, because it's about, at that point, who's going to sponsor you, who's going to look into all the legal things that need to take place in order to hire you in the United States. So hopefully Enigma 3191, I answered that question. And Wildebeest, thanks for being a subscriber. I didn't know I could do subscribe. Oh, that's cool. I just upgraded to an affiliate account because I was like the next step in the mentoring process I had gone through about being a Twitch streamer. Like you could upgrade to an affiliate account. And Wildebeest is my first subscriber. So Wildebeest7, thanks for subscribing. Fierce Brute, thanks for following. Triggerous, thanks for following. Our Club 205, thanks for following. Will Sir W the First, thanks for following. And Malavi Yas 98, thanks for following. Triggerous, yeah. So Enigma 3190 says, yeah, that helps. I usually find the qualification section really daunting, and it gives you that imposter syndrome. So Enigma 3190, if this is the first time you've ever been here, I cover this thing called creating a catch-all resume that really helps reduce imposter syndrome, because all of a sudden you have this long list of skills and abilities that you have. And when you look, so I'm going to show you what and all of us can make this. It's really simple to make this catch-all document or catch-all resume. And this is for your own internal use. But when I go through and I list everything that I'm good at, because we as human beings are really good at finding things that describe who we are instead of sitting down to describe who we are. And so when I go through and I find something that says, like, if you've never been a part of this live stream before, what I do is I just tell you to go job hunt your own job title and then harvest every single bullet point that's true about you and then add it to this internal document. So the ability to multitask in a fast-paced environment and navigate through ambiguous environments enjoys challenges. This is literally Black Hills information security. Like that's what I do on a daily basis. Ability to follow procedures and identify and issues that need improvement. That's something I know how to do. So this is just going through and creating. And when I scroll through this, it is 9 pages long. All the things I know how to do are 9 pages long. And I feel like most of you have a 9-page long document you can choose too. Now, is it the same thing in there 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 times? Sure. Sometimes I find it and it's worded differently and I'm like, oh, I like the way it's worded here. Or I like the way it's worded here. I like the way it's worded here. Adapt at simplifying and communicating complex ideas to broad audiences. Hopefully that's true. Interest and ability to research new and emerging technologies to better solve marketing problems. I'm on Twitch right now. Why am I on Twitch right now? Because I didn't know how to use Twitch. And so I was like, let me go research and start my own live stream so I know how to do this. Self-starter with the proven ability to develop creative solutions that enable communities. Sure. So anytime I find one of these, I just like copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And so I do a search for my own job every couple months, and then I just copy and paste them to my own document. That was a rabbit trail, but let me know if that helped you. Enigma 3190 is that I have imposter syndrome. I totally do. Like before this live stream starts, sometimes I'm like lying awake at night, like why am I giving advice to job hunters? Like nobody wants to hear what I have to say. Like the imposter syndrome's real. Like it kicks in, and like if one of you were like, Jason, I disagree with you. Like a part of me would be like, yeah, you're probably right. Like I don't know what I'm talking about. And that's the imposter syndrome kicking in. Like I know that this works. I know that it's helped a lot of people. I know that it's different, and that some of you have what's called cognitive dissonance, where you're like, I have a belief, and you're going against that belief, and now they're running into each other, and I don't know which one to believe, and that's fine. So. Grayson says, I also made a catch-all into a PowerPoint after hearing Jason talk about it because I'm a visual person. That's awesome. And Trigger says, I totally relate to the 30 seconds of courage comment. I feel that all the time. Yeah, 30 seconds of courage. I was giving this talk at DerbyCon, and I did the whole, like, never deny someone the opportunity to find out how awesome you are. And it was like 30 seconds of courage, and there was like 300 people in the room, and I was like, so get out there and go meet people. And like as soon as I said it, I was like, wait, you're going to freak all of them out if you walk out of this room and go introduce yourself to all the people out there. Because like, Like, we're not used to people walking up. We're not used to people introducing ourselves. We're not used to it. That's why it works. Because we're not used to it. It breaks through what everyone else is doing. Reaching out to Jennifer breaks through what everyone else is doing. Because it's not expected. And since it's not expected, it's different. It's special. And you may not be the right person for the job, but at least Jennifer knows you exist more than the other 39 people that were not right for the job that also applied. But let Jennifer tell you that you're not the right person for the job. Don't tell yourself you're not the right person for the job. All right. So we're currently looking for jobs at Ubisoft. We found a name here, Lionel Boucher. Boucher. My last name is also French. Blanchard. Blanchard. All right. And apparently there's like 1,000 jobs available at Ubisoft, and that's totally cool. Let's go back to Ubisoft's LinkedIn page. So I'm going to go back over here to I'm just going to hop to it from their account. There we go. So now I'm at Ubisoft's LinkedIn page. Is this the one based? Yeah. So it's a global network of talented people with large in-house game development staff. Ubisoft gathers more than 14,000 team members. Fantastic. We have another video here. You can totally watch that. See all of our videos. Absolutely. Goodbye, Raven's Banquet. Hello, something else. So you could go through here and watch some other videos and see if there's something here that could be useful or relevant to your job hunt. We could go down here and see all the people who also work there and the people who I may potentially know because I went to the same university, and that's fine. I go over here to Ubisoft, and it's kind of like, here's some posts. Life at Ubisoft. Recent job openings. If I want to see all the jobs, I could right-click here, open in a new tab, go over, and then type in the word security. So if I type in security, I'll see all the different security jobs available at Ubisoft. At some point here, I will see all the jobs available in security at Ubisoft. So they have a red team, remote Costa Rica job. They have a IT security, ethical hacker. They got a ton of security jobs. So look at all these security jobs currently at Ubisoft all over the world. And so if you wanted to work at Ubisoft, maybe that works for you. But that's not what we're doing. Grayson says, here's a good one. And Trigger says, DerbyCon was my hometown con. I'm definitely going to be sharing this with a few folks. By a few folks, that's me. I'm a few folks. Nice. Spirit Fur said, ran a search for people working in talent acquisition in my area in the IT industry and found someone who I have a family member as a mutual connection with. That's awesome, Spirit Fur. That's a great starting conversation. Like, hey, I'm reaching out. I see that you're the talent acquisition person for, and I also see that you're connected with a family member of mine. All right. So what's some other things that we can do? Well, this is my favorite one. This one right here. People. So there's 20,710 employees. I could also type in security here. I could type in security, and it will potentially show me every single person that works in security at Ubisoft. So we just found the Director of Information Security at Ubisoft. Hello, Mark. Nice to meet you. We have the Head of Security and Risk Management of Ubisoft. Hello, Jason. We have the Corporate Security Manager at Ubisoft. Hello, Serena, maybe. And then we have the Security Manager at Global Events and Esports. What's up, Bruno? Very nice to meet you. And then we also have Information Security Specialists. We have these people. So these are future coworkers. Now, here's the one thing about security people. So if you're watching this, you're in security, you know that security people are I don't want to, this is not an insult. They're a cowardly lot. They're a cowardly lot. And they're on alert for any possible phishing activity. They're on alert for any social engineering or anything like that. So it is possible that when you reach out to security people, they're like, no. And that's totally fine. Because security people are the people who you would work with and could be potential internal advocates for you. But the people that we're going to look for are recruiters. So I'm going to go up here to recruiter. And I always spell this wrong. Recruiter. God, how many different ways? And it still has yeah, it still had security as a search result. So I gotta close that out. So let's see what happens. So let's close that. All right. So I just did a keyword search for recruiter. It is now 188 employees. So we have the senior manager for talent acquisition for the Americas. Hello, Deborah. We have the senior talent specialist. We have Trevor. We have a professional recruiter at, and then we have a recruiter at, we have recruiter, massive entertainment. So if I want to talk to Sebastian, maybe working, we have an international recruiter. We have international recruiters, international recruiter. So I could keep scrolling through this list and you would see that there's Tom. There's Jennifer, who we saw earlier. There's a career and development lead. There's more recruiters, more recruiters, more recruiters, more recruiters, more recruiters. There's a director of talent and culture incubator. Interesting. We have a human resources lead recruiter. If you're watching right now, you're probably like, I didn't know I could just reach out to the recruiters at an organization I wanted to work for and introduce myself. This here is where that cognitive dissonance kicks in. And that cognitive dissonance just means you have a certain set of beliefs. I'm introducing new sets of beliefs, and now you're struggling internally with how these beliefs may work together because you're like, I can't reach out to that recruiter. You know? So let's go back to this. If you've been here since the very beginning, and there's been people that have come, people that left, people that come, people that left. So there's some of you that may be here and you didn't catch this part. So how did we even get to Ubisoft in the first place? So I'm just going to recap. In the very beginning of the job hunt, you put a list together of where you want to work. So you research, you figure it out, you think about the industries you want to work, you think about where you want to, like, why you want to work, where you want to work, like all that stuff. And then you put this list together. And then you put it in the list of priority. Like, I really want to work at Tesla versus I kind of want to work at Yum Brands, but it's at the bottom of my list. Still your list. This is your list. I didn't make this list for you. No one made it for you. Your mom didn't give it to you. Your spouse didn't give it to you. Like, this is your list of where you want to work. And these companies are all on your list. So it's not like, oh, like the ones at the bottom suck. No, they don't suck. It's your list. It's just they're at the bottom of they're the least favorite places. Let me show you what mine looks like. So if I go over here to my top 10, my top of my list is a writing career. So the top of my list is writing career, but I can do a writing career at the same time I work at Black Hills Information Security, so that's why they're both at the top of my list. Right underneath that is Ramsey Solutions. Well, I've been thinking about it recently, and I decided that Ramsey Solutions is not at the top of my list. I like doing Financial Peace University, but I don't think I want to work at Ramsey Solutions, so I'm going to bring them down. Discord, like actually working at Discord. I think Discord's an amazing company. They're thriving during 2021. And it'd be really cool to work there. MGH is a local ad agency in my town. And the only reason I want to work there, well, there's a couple of reasons. Like, I met some of the people, I thought they were nice. But the number one reason that I don't want to work there, and if you watched this live stream before, then you know, that they are the ones that have the account for Old Bay. And I would love to be like the marketing guy for Old Bay. Like, I'm from Maryland. We put Old Bay on our Old Bay here. Like, Old Bay is just, it's Maryland. If you're going to live in Maryland, you want the best account, it's going to be Old Bay. And so that's why they're on my list. I have ATT&CK. I would love to work at ATT&CK. It's a great company. Atari Hotels. I have this up here because one day I may work at Atari Hotels. If you've never seen Atari Hotels, I'm just going to post a link in here. Let you see the vision of what Atari Hotels will be one day. And like, what is this? This is incredible. This is like the future. It's like Blade Runner meets the past, meets like, I don't know, I can picture this on Mars at some point in the future. Like, this is so cool. And it would be really neat to work there. So I just put it on my list. Blizzard Entertainment, Google, Nintendo, Sony, Bad Robot, Baltimore Aquarium, Johnson & Johnson, and Shutterfly. Now, once again, this is my list. It's mine. So any of these companies would be great to work at. Any of them. This is where I want to work the most, but any of them would be great to work at. But where am I going to start? Shutterfly. Because I want to work there the least. So let's talk about Ubisoft for a second. So we've been talking about Ubisoft because it's at the bottom. You know, it's number 17 on a list of 22 companies, 21 companies. So it's down here. Here's what happens when you start applying or reaching out to people at a company that's not in your top 5. Who cares? Who cares if you send the message? Who cares if they respond? Who cares if you make a mistake in your message? Who cares? Because it's not at the top of your list. Now, are you going to be a jerk? No. Like, you're going to do the best you can. Are you going to be like harassing people? No. You're just going to reach out and introduce yourself. Like, but it's at the bottom of your list. There's no stress here. So if I wanted to send a message, let's go back to Ubisoft. This is the director of information security at Ubisoft. If I wanted to, I could pay for a premium email and I could send a message to Marc Andre, the information security, corporate security at Ubisoft, and I could say, hey, I'm currently looking at a security position, and I see that you're the director and head of information security at Ubisoft. My name is, and I'm transitioning from the military to, or my name is, and I'm recently a graduate, or my name is, and I have 15 years of experience in information security, or my name is, and I'm transitioning from IT over to Infosec. Like, and I think Ubisoft would be an amazing company to work for, and I'm reaching out to you because you're in charge of all of it. Would it be possible to set up a 10 to 15 minute phone call to introduce myself and find out what it's like to work at Ubisoft and what you're looking for in your team? The best way to reach me is anytime during the day through LinkedIn is totally fine, or you can reach out to me anytime at night because I work currently during the day at so-and-so at this company. And you send that message. And once you send that message, it's totally out of your control. That's the part that sucks, right? The part that sucks is that you want to have some control over, does Mark respond, or like, what if Mark doesn't respond? Here's the one thing that's not going to happen. Marc Andre at Ubisoft is not going to see your message and go, how dare you? How dare you reach out to me? How dare you send me a message on LinkedIn about working at this? How dare you? You will never work at Ubisoft, ever, as long as I'm here, because how dare you? And I think that's what most of us think is going to happen. Like, we send a message and like, oh, that's it, it's over. No. But if we go over here and we take a look at Marc Andre's activity, we may see that Mark doesn't actually use LinkedIn. His last message was 2 years ago. You're not going to send a message to Marc Andre. Marc Andre does not use LinkedIn. So that would be a dead end. But let's see who else is in this list. Jason Haddix, the head of security and risk management at Ubisoft. You could also send a message to Jason. But before you do, let's see if they actually use Ubisoft. Let's go down here. And we're going to click over here and take a look at Jason's activity feed. And if you didn't know, LinkedIn is the most tattletale of any organization, any social media platform. And we see that 2 months ago, Jason Haddix commented on this. And a month ago, Jason Haddix liked this. So that means most likely within the last 2 to 1 month, Jason Haddix was using LinkedIn to comment. And he knows Chloe. So if you know Chloe, then that might be like a good opening. Like, hey, I see that you know Chloe from the post that you made from Point 3 Security. Just wanted to see if I could touch base with you. Now, if you've been here since the beginning of the live stream, I talked about 2 things today. Finding internal advocates to help you get inside the walled city to find a job. But really, the thing I want to talk about today is mentors. And if we go back over to this list, what if Jason Haddix, instead of reaching out to Jason Haddix to talk about getting a job at Ubisoft, you just reached out to Jason Haddix about how did Jason Haddix get to where he is in his career, and what advice would he have for you at this time in your career? And so the message is different. Hey Jason, I see that you're the head of security and risk management at Ubisoft. And I'm looking at working in a company like that in the future. Would it be possible to talk to you for 10 to 15 minutes about how you got to where you are in your career, and what advice would you have for someone like me in my career? Now, at that point, does Jason Haddix respond? Maybe. Maybe Jason Haddix. But remember, the thing is, I always look at people's activity feed. And if they're not using LinkedIn, then there's a really good chance they're not going to respond on LinkedIn. They're not going to respond on LinkedIn. But if I go through Jason's activity feed, so Grayson here is saying pivot, Jason. But yeah, I could pivot here to Chloe. I could reach out to Chloe as a potential mentor inside cybersecurity. I could scroll through here and find out this is Stinge. I probably said that wrong. VP of Hosting Services at Ubisoft. If I went through here, I could find a hacker, speaker, trainer, streamer, content creator. This guy, Ben. And what is this? Like, I just found a bunch of people tagged. Community builder, marketing team leader, Jonathan Cran, information security leadership, Jason Haddix. Like, I just found all this stuff where I could potentially watch this video here for 4 minutes and 16 seconds and learn something about the job hunt. It says, love you, Ben, and Stock. Keep doing your thing. I really appreciate Can't Stop being ourselves. Cool. Maybe you comment on this post too. We just found a manager security response and outreach at Amazon Web Services. So this is where, can I pivot? I met this one person, but can I pivot off of this? And we also have here the Chief Information Security Officer, Senior VP of Carrabba. And like, you're like, well, what's Carrabba? So let me go pivot off of this. And maybe that's a company I could potentially work for too. Let me know if this makes sense to you. So you can let me know in the Twitch chat if this makes sense. If you have any questions at this point, like, what am I doing? Well, I'm trying to find people to introduce myself to. I have future mentors, internal advocates, and just building out my network. This is network building. This is the hard work of building relationships. This is the first step in a lifelong relationship or friendship with somebody. It's just reaching out and saying hi. We did find a bunch of other people, like Chloe here we pivoted off of. We have Jason's, we have Serena. We can take a look at her activity as well. We have Bruno LeBlanc is here. We could also take a look at contact info here, see if there's anything that is useful. We could go through here and see if there's any activity. There is. Ooh. You know what we're about to find? Jobs. Yeah. All these people, why is this Jason person looking at all of our employees? Yeah. Could you show how you organized your contacts? I can, and then just screenshot that. So Bruno, as of 1 week ago, liked this post. So Bruno is kind of active. We have a senior PR manager at Ubisoft since 1995. This person is very proud of that since way back in the day. And if we go through here, we just found an incident response engineer job in Sweden here. And then if we go through, we found meet this person. And we can go to Ubisoft's website and we just found this person. There's two things that just happened right here. I found the person who wrote the article and I found the person who's listed in the article. Both of which you could reach out to as a potential, how did you get to where you are in your career and what advice would you have for someone like me? Hey, I read your article on Ubisoft's. Would it be possible to talk to you for 10 to 15 minutes to find out more about how you got to where you are? I know I read the article, but it would be really nice to meet you and to introduce myself. We have the Director of Global Physical Security. Oh, physical security and safety? Like, is that physical pen testing? Because if it is, that might be cool. And here's a job for Director of Ethics and Compliance Investigations. I don't know. I don't think I'm right for that job. Maybe. All right, so we got a couple things here. It says, also, you can see if you follow Ubisoft or the hub or like-minded pages may help if you reach out to a person that follows, say what we have in common. That is true. Alrighty. Any other questions that you might have? So I'm over here. And then we can always pivot off of one person. So we got some other people we could potentially pivot off of here. Let's go to Deborah, who's the, here we go. We hadn't talked about these people in a while. These people will most likely respond to your messages way more than security people will. So these are the magical job fairies that you want. Who are they? They're the recruiters that work at Ubisoft. So the very first person that we found was Deborah. So we got Deborah here. She's a senior manager of talent acquisition at Ubisoft. And if I go down here and take a look at her activity, most likely what she's about to do is introduce me to every single other recruitment person at Ubisoft. We got Alex over here. We got Marie is a fairy godmother, talent acquisition specialist at Ubisoft San Francisco. And then we have a recruiting coordinator. And the thing I like most about recruiting coordinators is that normally if you email that person and say, hey, could you get me in touch with who the right recruiter is for job reference number such and such, they're like, oh yeah, that's Marie, and let me forward your information. Or thanks for reaching out. The best way to get in touch with us was through careers@ubisoft.com. And you're like, awesome. So when you make that email to careers@ubisoft.com, you can say, hey, I got your contact information from Einur. I'm probably saying that wrong, but I got your contact information from Einur, and I just wanted to reach out. So by dropping someone's name into the email that you're sending, instead of saying, hey, Alex, I'm just reaching out because Deborah mentioned that I should contact you. Like, let's say you talk to Deborah and she's like, well, actually, I think Alex is the best person. Then when you reach out to Alex, you can say, hey, I'm reaching out to you because Deborah said I should get in touch with you. That little bit of, hey, I talked to Deborah Glass, or I talked to Randy, or I talked to Marie, like that creates that social proof that when you do that final reach out, people are like, oh, well, if you know Deborah. All right, so let's look at Deborah's activity over here. And she liked this within the last 20 hours. So this was posted 20 hours ago. Deborah liked this. There's a really good chance that Deborah is on LinkedIn daily. Deborah is on LinkedIn every single day, for the most part. So looking for a talent game sourcer, if anyone's interested, let me know. Great opportunities. So a talent, they're looking for a talent acquisition partner. Hey, Deb the Debs. So if you go over here, you'll see like she's going to introduce you to other recruiters. We have the CEO at Sweet Spot. We have Michael Beatty here's Ubisoft Careers Jobs. We're looking for an associate communications manager. So by finding one person, they normally like and comment on a lot of the other job posts that are available. And so you'll see those. So here's a message that you can send. This was 1 month ago. If this was a message that you were interested in, you could always say, Michael, looks like this is from a month ago. Checking to see if the position is still available, or if I could speak with you about other possible positions I might be the right fit for. Because Michael's job, he wants to fill positions. Like, this is Senior Director of Public Relations. Like, well, maybe Michael's like, well, if you know how to reach out and use communications really well, like you just did, then that might be the right thing. But that's it from Deborah. I could get more stuff here. We got a lead producer at Ubisoft. We got more people. But all right. What about Trevor? So we got Trevor over here. Trevor is a senior talent specialist. Let me click on contact information. Nothing. Let's go to activity. And from here, you might be able to pivot to other different groups. I like this. Division leader at Addison Group. Just list the email right there. That's nice. Senior VP, head of film and television. Oh man, head of film and television. I might actually save this information for myself now. Head of film and television. For a second, it looked like the messages were unlocked. And I was like, I can just send a message? No, they have premium InMail, so you would have to pay for an InMail account to be able to send this message. Okay, so for the person who asks, if you're still here, the person who asked about what it's like to be a international student or international person trying to get a job in America, let me know if you're still here and I can see if I can answer your question. And at this point, I got 25 minutes left, so what questions do you have? So when it comes to the document, I'm just going to go over here, and if you want to document what I'm looking at, I just generally keep track of what the company is. If there was a job post that I want to keep, if there's a link to the job on the website, so like this one would take me to Atlassian, all their different careers that I could click on, so that way, if I need to, I can just hop back over to it. I talked to Dominique Cole at the time. Dominique's LinkedIn account is here. So this would take me back to Dominique's account. And if I wanted to, I could follow up and see if there was any new activity. So I could go back over here to new activity and see if this person's still active with this career. So he hasn't liked anything in 3 months. So I might, like at this point, just go back over to my document and just cross this out as a dead lead, which is, I didn't hear anything back, so I'm just gonna mark a color here of red. So it's a dead lead. All right, so I got some stuff coming in. Fail at says, use that premium free trial. Just remember to cancel it for sure. Sometimes you can add a message if you contact first, and LinkedIn will as if you want to personalize it. Could be a tactic to engage with folks more directly. How do you pick the right level job title for a person to try to get to mentor you? So Red Dwarf, I would say anyone that is doing something that you want to be doing. So Red Dwarf just said, well, what's the right? How do you pick the right level or job title? It's the job that you want. So when you look, there's the job that you want 5 years from now. There's the job you want 10 years from now. There's the job you want 15 years from now. There's the job that you want next year. Like, if there's someone doing the thing that you want to do, it's okay to reach out to them. So if they're just 6 months ahead of you, or they're younger than you, but they're already doing the job, still reach out. Like, it's not about age. It's not about seniority. It's just about who's doing the thing that you want to do. Jackie?
Can I answer this one?
Sure. So Jackie's gonna hop in.
Hopping in a quick minute and then leaving.
If you've been hearing the sound in the background, Jackie,
that was me.
She was cleaning as quietly as possible. She was like
Cleaning
washing dishes so carefully, like quietly picking up each thing and cleaning it slowly.
All right, so mentorship. How do you find the perfect mentor? I could give like a whole class on this, but one of the main things that you really want to look at is you look at your skills and abilities and you look at where your gaps are at. So Jason was on to, look at the jobs that you want, but also, if you want, let's say, a CISO job, but you're not great at maybe understanding business politics or organizations, give a class. If you're not good at business politics or organizations or understanding kind of the organizational structure, or navigating that political landscape, like I mentioned, what you would want to go ahead and do at that point is you would want to find a mentor that's great at that. So that might not be, if you're in cybersecurity, that might not be someone in cybersecurity. That might be a program manager or the owner of a business, because you want to develop those skill sets and get a different perspective on what you're doing. And so my mentors that I have aren't all technical. So I'm a technical person, but my mentors aren't all technical. I have mentors across the gamut. Some are technical, some are male, some are female, some are business leaders. And also, you don't have to be scared to reach out to, a CISO or a CIO or a company president or anyone. If you see something in them that is an area that you need to grow in and they're great in that area, I would just encourage you to reach out and say, hey, are you able to mentor me? And it doesn't have to be necessarily a monthly mentorship, especially if they're older, do a SWOT on who your mentors might be. Yeah, there you go. It doesn't necessarily have to be a monthly meeting, right? Some of your mentor meetings might be monthly, but some of them, if you're meeting with like maybe the president of a company, you might meet with them quarterly or once every 6 months. And then you give them the information of, kind of where you're at and what you're experiencing, and then they'll give you the challenges that you need to work on for the next meeting, the next 6-month meeting or whatever. So that's my piece of feedback. Look at your growth areas where you need to develop, and then choose your mentors based on that. So you have to do some reflection, inner reflection. And with that, I gotta go.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Yep. And one other thing too is that she touched on it. I wanted to talk about it just a little bit more. She has a technical mentor, like a political relationship mentor, and a business leader mentor. And so it's not just about technical mentors. It's how can I navigate relationships. So you have a political mentor, a person who's just good at navigating office politics or navigating human relationships, and you're just like, hey, could you mentor me and like how this works and how I should maybe step out of my comfort zone and meet some people, and like what do I say? And it could be someone who's a business leader who says, yeah, you got great technical skills, but how do those technical skills help the business? And here, let me help you learn how to translate your skills into business, so that way you can do that. All right, so Dev Shift says, at some point during the pivot process, should we set a limit on how many times we pivot so we don't end up going down the rabbit hole? That's a really great question. So the list helps. The list helps with the rabbit hole, but it doesn't solve the rabbit hole, right? Because I could just keep hunting. So time locking is really good, where you say, for the next 2 hours, I'm going to do this. And if you want to give yourself, I have this one plant that grows. It's here. So I'm going to give you this plant as an analogy. This plant grows one leaf, and then off that leaf, it grows separate leaves. But nothing grows off of those leaves. So what you can do is say, this is my main goal, but for my main goal, I can shoot off of it once, but I can't shoot off of it twice. So if I'm looking at Ubisoft, then if I look at Ubisoft, I can branch off of Ubisoft once, but I can't branch off that thing to something else. So I can look at here, and I can go to one other thing, but I can't. So if I want to, I have to go back to Ubisoft, and then if I want to find something, I can go and find something else, but I can't just branch off of what I branched off. I don't know if that answered your question. All right. Any other questions at this time? So if you want to screenshot this, you totally can. And then we're going to talk about the last part of this, is that if you reach out, well, what happens next? So I reach out to this campus recruiter, I reach out to a technical recruiter, I reach out to the CISO, I reach out to this person, and I do the whole, would it be possible to talk to you for 10 to 15 minutes to find out how you got to where you are in your career and what advice would you have for me? And the person says, yes. And you're like, oh, okay, all right. They said yes, okay. Crap, what am I going to talk about? Generally, if you did the whole, like, would you be willing to tell me about how you got to where you are in your career? That's how it starts. You set up a time to meet. You set up a time for the phone call. Maybe it's like this. It's a Zoom call or something. And when it starts, you're like, hey, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with me today. Like, I'm currently job hunting. I'm transitioning. I'm getting ready to graduate. Like, whatever the case is, like, you just say, this is where I'm at. And I feel a little lost, or I'm not quite sure the direction I need to go to. And so I've heard from other people that I should seek out guides. And when I came across your profile, when I came across your career, you seemed like a really good guide. So could you tell me how you got to where you got to in your career? And that person's going to just talk. They will talk and talk and talk. They're going to hit every single major point that they think is good for you. They're going to talk for a while. Normally, these 10 to 15 minute phone calls turn into 30 to 45 minute phone calls. At some point, they start giving advice. They're like, well, where are you at in your career? And you're like, well, I'm about 2 years in. You're like, okay, so 2 years in, one of the things that you're going to want to do is look at this, or look at this. And you're like, oh, okay. Do you know anything about this type of technology? You're like, I do, a little bit. And you're like, well, so here's a couple books I recommend. Here's this. If you haven't taken this class, I highly recommend this class. And do you know so-and-so? And you're like, no, I don't know. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to a good friend of mine who knows this stuff really well, and you should talk to them. That's when it goes really well. It doesn't always go that well. Like, just like maybe building a relationship, you sit there, like, you realize in the first 15 minutes, like, I don't like this person. Like, this person seems like an arrogant ass. And so it gets to where they're like, do you have any questions? Like, actually, no, I got to run. I only had 15 minutes for today, so thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. That's when it comes to the mentor. Now, whenever you do hit it off and you have that 15 minutes to 45-minute conversation, and you're like, I really like this person. I love their advice that they're giving me right now. Then at the end of it, you can say, hey, would it be possible to follow up with you in like 3 months? Okay. Would it be possible to let you know how my progress is going 6 months from now? And they're like, sure, you can always email me here. And I'm like, thanks so much. Now, the greatest thing you could do for anyone that gives you advice is this. Follow up with an email and say, my 2 big takeaways from today were, and my next step is. My 2 big takeaways today were, and my next step is. Because when you say my 2 big takeaways today were, it means you were listening, and this was the part that they said. Like, right now, if I was to ask you, what is the 2 main takeaways that you're taking away from today's live stream? And what's your next step? Then I would see what I thought was most important to you, and that you were listening, and that you were taking it in, and that you were processing it, and you were trying to figure out how to apply it to yourself. And then that second part of what's your next step? And when you tell someone who's just giving you advice what your next step is, they feel like, I did some good. I did some good today. And they feel good about it, and they want to continue that relationship so that when you reach out 3 months from now, like, hey, so how are things going? You're like, hey, they're going really good. Thanks so much for recommending that book. I read that. That thing was awesome. I talked to so-and-so that you recommended. They got me in touch with like another person. I'm taking a training class now. And I was like, awesome. That's great. Malavi's 98. I'm saying that wrong. Considering how hard it is for an international student to get a job in security, what should be kept in focus to increase the probability? I'm new to Infosec scenario in the U.S. Can you please guide? I'm going to give you 2 answers to that. And then Abhishinak. Yes, the recording will be available from today for 2 weeks, and then the recording goes away. But I'm going to take this recording specifically and put it on the Black Hills YouTube channel, so that way you can watch it later. It just won't have any of the Twitch chat included. Question, Coach. Starting at the bottom of the list seems like it's gearing us up, priming us for the job at the top of the list. Is that a subconscious part of the whole process? It sure is. Dev shift, it sure is. Because when you start at the bottom of your list, like, you just build your confidence, your resume gets better, your interviewing abilities get better, everything gets better as you work your way up the list. All right, and Malavi's talking about international. The main thing to take away from the international that is for you to be good at international labor laws in the U.S. Like, this is almost built like flashcards for Kahoots or something that you can use to study the compliance of the United States international labor laws. Like, whatever it is that you can do to find out what is the laws for working international. No, thank you. What? No, thank you. Okay. So, the more well-versed you are on international labor laws, the way they are right now in the U.S., the more you're going to be able to help anyone that will potentially sponsor you for a job in the U.S. And the thing is, like, I don't know this. So if you were like, hey, Jason, could you help me get a job in the U.S.? I'd be like, no. Well, if you were to come back and say, well, actually, if you can do this and sign this and do this and contact this person, it's not that difficult. Oh, it's not that difficult? If you can help walk me through the process of hiring you as an international student or international person in security in the U.S., if you can help me in human resources, if you can help me in talent acquisition, if you can help me through that process, so it's not as hard as I think it is. Because right now in my head, I'm like, that's hard. That's totally hard. But I feel like, actually, it's not that hard. It's an H1N1. It's this visa, and it's this, and it's just this piece of paper. And all you got to do is sign this one document over here, and you say you're going to sponsor me for 1 year. Like, if you help me through that process, it's going to really make my life easier. The second step is to do the things I talked about today, is to find internal advocates in the United States that could potentially sponsor you at organizations. Darn it. 1 second. He's a good guard dog. He's a real good guard dog. And he likes to protect our home, even if we don't want him to. But he's good at what he does. So to finally answer that question, Malavi's 98, it is the help the people who are going to hire you the best you possibly can by understanding international labor laws. He is a collie, like a big, full-blown Lassie dog collie. He's wonderful. And then Grayson's answering DevShift's question. And DevShift, thanks for following. I appreciate it. All right. Nope, still not helpful. Okay. Whew. As soon as I stood up and walked over, he's like, my bad. I'm like, I don't hit you. I just want you to stop. He's like, I'm sorry. Because Jackie just left, and he wants to make sure that if anyone's walking by, that she knows. She knows. Okay. All right. So to finish up for today, what happens when they respond? And that is what this document is all about. Keeping track of who you've reached out to, when you reached out to them, and have you heard back. So, to finalize today's information, part 4 of reaching out, finding internal advocates, finding potential mentors. The most important part about this is maintaining some kind of organization of who you talk to, when you talk to them, and have you heard back. For some job hunters, you've been job hunting for 6 months, 6 weeks, 6 days, 6 minutes, 6 whatever, and you feel like you have nothing to show for it. And if you were to have a list of this, of all the places you contacted, all the things that you did, part of that would be depressing. Like, look at all the stuff I've done, like all the companies I've reached out to, all the people, all this, all that. I've done all this work and I still have nothing to show for it. Well, there are some people who job hunt and have absolutely nothing to show for it. They haven't kept track of who they've reached out to. They haven't kept track of what jobs they found and applied for. They just keep moving on and just like apply this. And now it's been 6 months and they're like, what have I done? Or someone asks them like, what have you been doing to find a job? And you're the kind of person like, just as I peruse through my list of things I've been doing, and you're like, oh, okay, all right. Wow, you've done a lot. But I also don't think you're going to get that far if you're kind of this organized. Like it might be the type of job you're going out for, but once again, don't say no on behalf of the other person. If there's something that you see that you feel like you're a good fit for, apply for it. But to wrap up today, if you reached out to Stella Colson, a senior manager of town operations, and this is Stella over here. If you were to reach out to her when you did, and she's the senior talent operations at FireEye, and now you reached out on 122, and it's nothing. And you reached out again, and it is okay to reach out again. It is okay to reach out again. There's the first contact, the first follow-up, and the final follow-up. What most job hunters do, and I've had them on this live stream before, and they will say, Jason, I've reached out to 50 people. I reached out to 50 people and I only heard back from one person. And I was like, wow, okay, you got like a 2% success rate. Did you reach back out to the other 49 people for a follow-up? And you're like, I can do what? Yeah, did you reach out again? And say the question, hey, I'm not sure if you got my last message or maybe I can just get to the top of your inbox. If this isn't the best way to reach you, is there a better way? Like, those are 3 different ways you could do your first follow-up. I'm not sure if you got this the first time. Just trying to get to the top of your inbox. Is there a better way to reach you? That's 3 different tactics that you can take to your first follow-up message. Is this harassing? Nope. Because you reached out on this day, and then 7 days later, if you hadn't heard anything, you follow up 7 days later. And then 3 weeks after that. So 3 weeks after that. So a full month after your first contact. A full month after your initial contact. You do a final follow-up. Hey, I'm not sure if you filled the position yet. I'm not sure if my emails are getting through. I've heard from other people that they're not. And so if you're not getting this, then I guess you're not getting this. That's another one. Or I know that life gets busy, and sometimes we don't have time to get to everything that we want to get to, but just checking to see now if you have any more time available. None of these are harassing. None of these are accusatory. None of these are being an asshole. They're just you following up, just like anybody would follow up in business. Here's my first contact. Here's my first follow-up. Here's my final follow-up. And if you get to this, and you've reached out a 3rd time, and there's nothing there, and they didn't respond any of the times that you sent messages, then there's just nothing there. But sometimes you get to that last follow-up, and you respond, and this person, who is a human being, Stella is a human being, and this human being the whole time was like, I should follow up with Grayson. I should follow up with Dev Shift. I should follow up with them. And they've been thinking it the whole time. They're like, they reached out on LinkedIn, and I totally meant to respond to it. And then another message came in, and then work got in the way, and then my daughter had this thing at school, and then and I'm going to bed tonight, and I'm trying to remind myself to respond to Grayson tomorrow. And then life just gets in the way tomorrow. And then on a quiet day, like this person's quiet day, you reach out in that final follow-up, like, hey, just wanted to see if I could get to the top of your inbox, or see if that position was filled, or if you have any other positions that would be good for my skills. Maybe now would be a good time. And that person goes, thanks so much for reaching back out. Thank you for your persistence. I really appreciate it. Let's set up that 10 to 15 minute phone call. You're not pestering. You're not harassing. You're not being a jerk. You're just being diligent. Thanks, Dev Shift. I appreciate it. All right, everybody. That is it for today. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you had at least 2 takeaways and at least one thing that you're going to do next. Today was day 4, or part 4 of this live stream. Part 1 is going to go up on the Black Hills YouTube live stream. So if you're watching it there now, then how meta is this that you're actually there? Because of recordings and life and everything else. Part 2 is going to go up tomorrow. Part 3 is going to be in 2 parts, and we'll go up after that. And then part 4 will go up. So I'd say in a couple days, part 4 will be up. But it's going to be here on Twitch for 2 weeks until it's no longer on Twitch for 2 weeks. For those of you that followed today, thanks so much for following. And I appreciate it. Hopefully you come back, and hopefully you tell others about the live stream. And hopefully something today was helpful for you in your job hunt process. And I'm going to have my final thoughts here in a second. Let me just think about them. I talked about mentors today, and I've gotten a chance to mentor people throughout the years, and I really love mentoring people because I don't take credit for their success, but I feel like I help play a part in their success in a way that I feel successful. And I've also had people I've mentored that just ghosted me, like they disappeared, and I'm always like, I wonder what happened to them. Like, I hope they're okay. But I've had some mentees that reach out to me maybe every couple weeks and just want to catch up, and I look forward to their calls. I also have a mentor. I talk to a mentor every Saturday about my future writing career. So I had listed on here a writing career. And I want to be a writer. I want to write things. I want to write stuff down. And I want to be a writer. And I don't know how to do that. I don't know how to navigate that. I don't know how to be that. So I found a person that I respect and that I like and I had a previous relationship with. And I said, will you teach me or mentor me in my writing career? And he said, absolutely. There was like a little moment like, will you mentor me in my writing career? And he's like, absolutely, Jason. I would be honored to do so. And so thank you. So I don't know if you have a mentor. I don't know if you've sought that out, but please do. And then mentor other people. There's got to be someone, and you can't mentor someone who doesn't want to be mentored. It's not like, I'm going to mentor you, and you're going to like it. No. But if anyone reaches out to you and ever asks you, if anyone ever sends you a message and says, would it be possible to talk to you for 10 to 15 minutes on how you got to where you are in your career? And what advice would you have for someone like me? I hope you are the kind of person that says, absolutely. I can't wait to talk to you. And with that, I'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.